Okay, in this video we're going to cover loose leash walking. We're going to cover all aspects of loose leash walking, first being the setup, second being how to reset when your dog pulls ahead, and then third would be actually doing the walking. I want to preface this by saying that loose leash walking is one of the most challenging things that you'll cover in the dog training world. So it's going to take a lot of patience on your part and a lot of reasonable expectations. So don't expect after watching this video or only doing it a couple times to go to a park where there's lots of dogs or distractions out in the world. Be reasonable. So practice this in a controlled environment first. Get familiar with kind of the muscle memory of the reset, and also learning how to engage with your dog is going to really be a big benefit when it comes to loose leash walking. The first part of loose leash walking is going to be the setup. As you can see in the picture right here, Molly is located on my left hand side, as are the treats. We want the treats on the side of the dog. I like to remember treat side, dog side, to be as efficient as possible when delivering the treats. We're going to deliver them directly to their mouth. We want them to be as close to their side as possible. So in other words, if I was to have the treats on the right hand side, it would lead me to potentially deliver the treats in front of me, or it would be in an uncomfortable position. We want this to be as relaxed as possible. So the leash is on my right hand side only for safety. We're going to use the treats, again, being on the dog side, to direct and maneuver the dog. So this is a force-free loose leash walk, but we want the treats to be closest to the dog. The leash goes across your body just for safety. In these next two clips, you're going to see our first of three ways of how to reset the dog without forcing them. So this first way is by luring them. Basically just going to show the dog food and keep it close to their mouth, lure the dog around and back to my side without pulling her. Okay, so as you can see, she's out in front. I'm going to show her the treat, step back, and swing her around and treat her when she gets to my side. So the treat stays really close to her mouth. If it doesn't stay close to her mouth, she's likely to get distracted and not follow it. So she's ahead. I first stop, show her the treat, step back, swing her around, and back to the side. Yes, and treat right when she's on the side. So here's Sterling. So watch how Sterling's out in front. She steps back, swing, yes, and treat right there on the side. I'll get her to show you again. Sterling's out in front, stop, show him the treat, swing, deliver the treat right on the side. Great job. One more time. Swing, and yes, and treat right there. Muscle memory is really key with this, so best to practice before you get to walking. This next method I'm going to show you is how to reset your dog by using your momentum and movement. I found with a lot of the bigger breed dogs, the Great Danes, the Great Pyrenees, the Newfoundlands, it's harder to reach around and swing them like the last method you saw. So what we're going to do right here is show the dog a treat. We're just going to simply take steps backwards, and then we're going to take steps forwards and let the dog do the resetting. Okay, so here Molly's out in front. Show her the treat. Walk backwards and then walk forwards. So arm kind of swung a little bit right there, but it's definitely not as much as actually having to lure her. So show her the treat when she's out in front. Walk backwards and then walk forwards. Let her do the resetting and spinning instead of having to extend your arm as much. Walk backwards and forwards. Yes, and treat right there on the side. So I got another video to show you. This is Tito. He's a Great Dane, and you can see how big he is compared to his mom. So he pulls out in front. She stops. She's going to show him the treat, walk backwards, and then walk forwards. And yes, and treat now that he's on her side. So you see how much easier that is with bigger breed dogs. I would highly recommend doing that. Or if you're not as coordinated as some people, which we've all been there, you can definitely try that method and see if that works for you. So the last method I'm going to show you as far as resetting your dog without forcing them is using the touch method that you learned last week. So the ideas are very similar to the other two. Your dog is ahead and you're going to stop. Then you're going to just call for a touch with your arm behind you, and then another touch with your arm parallel to your side. Once the dog completes the second touch, you just yes and treat. So here Molly's on their side. I call for a touch, and then another touch, and deliver the treat right there next to you. Most dogs who are totally stoked about touch will love to do this, so by all means, give it a shot. So touch, and then touch again. Yes, and treat right there. It is important, though, that your fingers are nose level or lower. If they're higher, your dog may jump, and if they're too low, your dog may be searching for food down there. So try to keep your treat nose level, but again, your movement is what's really going to help with this one. The last portion of this video is going to be the actual walking part. So like I mentioned earlier, loose leash walking is one of the most challenging things um, for us, and they can be the most stressful. So this is going to take a lot of patience and consistency as far as practice goes. So your walks may not be as long as they used to be at first, but you want to get successful walks. So if at any point you're walking your dog and you become stressed, or you think your dog might be stressed, just stop and take a break. That can be the most beneficial thing in you and your dog's world. That can build the trust between you two, and also we don't want your walks to be stressful. That's completely counterintuitive as to what walks are for. We want them to be stress reducers instead of stressors. So keep that in mind when you're practicing this. You just want to see progress and not perfection. These things take a lot of time to really get down. So do take your time, but make your walk successful, no matter how short they are. Just keep them short and sweet. So another big factor when it comes to loose leash walking is engaging with your dog. So as you'll see in the video, when I'm walking her, I'm either showing her a treat at her mouth. So here's a reset treat right at her mouth or at my forehead. If it's anywhere in between, she's likely to jump. So the movement of the treat is keeping her focus. See, she pulled ahead, so then you must reset. Now she's back on the side and we can continue to walk. So ways to engage with your dog: treating, or just simply talking to them. It doesn't really matter what you say, but the more interesting you can sound, the more interesting you will be to them. So I'll show her the treat, reset. Treat's either at her nose or at my forehead. Nowhere in between. If it's in between, she's likely to jump. So that's one thing we want to prevent. She pulls ahead, show her a treat, swing her back, yes, and deliver the treat. When you're first learning this, it's going to be important that you treat frequently, so that way your dog is more likely to stay in what's called the treat zone. I like to think of the treat zone as anywhere that you can reach your dog's nose. That's my rule of thumb as far as distance goes, of how far my dog could be ahead or to the side of me. Anywhere you can reach their nose is perfectly fine, because if you can reach their nose, you can deliver a treat. You can redirect them with a treat. You can do a watch, or you can do a touch. So the idea with that is within nose reach. This isn't a perfect heel, but the main thing we're concerned about is safety. We don't want your dog to pull you off into a ditch or into traffic. So that's why we teach you to learn how to reset your dog without forcing them, because as we all know, if you try to pull your dog one way, they're likely going to pull us another way, and that's something that we want to prevent by using one of the methods that were in this video. So thank you for watching.